So, I thought I would talk in this recording about something that came to me extremely quickly. I think it's probably the recording or the video that I've made that was the most sort of instant and the most sudden. Like, I wasn't planning on making a recording or a video today, and I just got this idea and I almost immediately started to record it. It's probably the quickest I've ever kind of started recording, I guess, which does happen to me a lot, but I think in this case, this is probably the quickest. So I have no idea how this is going to go because I haven't really done a lot of preparation, but I'm pretty able to sometimes even surprising myself in terms of how, like, I'm pretty able to kind of pull from the back of my head about ideas or thoughts that I want to discuss if I've thought about the topic a little bit at least. So I want to talk about this idea of putting yourself out there. What they say, putting yourself out there. It's kind of a funny saying in a way, because like we're all out there in some sense. We're all human beings having our experiences, and I think some people just sort of put their experiences, quote unquote, out there more than others. And I think it can lead to a lot of different, things and consequences. And that sounds ominous, but, it can lead to a lot of different things. So I think with putting myself out there, I've had different periods in my life where I have been on some sort of platform or I have done some sort of thing, and I've essentially been putting myself out there in a sense. And for me, it's interesting that there's always a sense of discomfort with it. And, with the exhibition that I have right now, I have this little small photography exhibition with a group of people that were doing a photography group. With that, it's been a little bit different in that I mostly was just happy and proud of the work that we did. But there's also a sense of, I don't know if I would be able to kind of keep it up in a sense. No matter what I do, there's always a sense of that I'm going to burn out quickly, if that makes sense, or at some point I will burn out. So it was interesting that, I was in an online platform before that. I was on it for a few years, and I kind of had periods where I just completely shut down and burnt out because of it, or something in me was sort of burning out and shutting down because not because of this platform necessarily, but there was something inside me that was already uncomfortable and that was already in the process of shutting down or closing myself off, that I kind of got, quote unquote, triggered by this platform. So it wasn't that the platform did anything to me. We can't necessarily we can't always, blame outside forces or external circumstances, but there was something in me that was no longer aligning with this group or this platform, that putting myself out there on that platform completely just wore me out, and I completely shut down in a way. I lost the sense of myself. I lost the sense of, well, what do I want to do? I want to do other things. I don't want to just be, putting myself out there on this platform and, being seen. In some sense, being seen is a scary concept if you think about it, because, we don't walk around the street, with bags on our head. So we are seen. But when we're putting something out there, so to speak, that we're doing, we are putting ourselves in situations where we are opening up the possibility of conflict, of criticism, constructive or otherwise, people wanting to bring us down maybe, or just being against what we're doing. And then that can reinforce this cycle that we might have internally already of being insecure in some sense. And so if somebody says something to you about something that you're doing and you're already insecure in yourself, then you can really start to question why you're doing it, or is this really, helping anybody? Is this really helping myself? Is this really worth doing? Because I think at least I'm part of the group of people, so to speak, that does care to some degree about how I'm received, or what I'm doing is contributing on a grander scale, if that makes sense. So it's difficult for me to just do what I want to do, completely blind to what other people are thinking about it, if that makes sense. So I can't just do something and not worry about how it's received to a certain degree. Even if I'm in a situation where I'm still kind of doing it more for me, or I'm kind of refusing to do it a different way, or I'm kind of going my own way. I do have a side of me that is like that. I tend to do things my own way, and I don't like to follow certain things or trends that I don't agree with or understand. But there's still a side of me inherently that is I'm someone who does care about what other people are doing and what they are experiencing and what they are getting out of what I'm doing, or what something that I'm involved with. Like what are other people outside of that group or that experience? What are they getting out of what I'm doing, or what the group that I'm in is doing? Like I can't help but care about that a little bit. And so, the thing with ambition as well is the thing that, like, I'm so afraid sometimes of doing something that would allow people to see me or experience something that I'm doing on a grander scale. So I would be absolutely terrified of being famous. I would be absolutely terrified of, at least to some degree, something that I'm doing being something that blows up. Because that invites all kinds of pressures. It invites people scrutinizing you, criticizing you, and there's also praise that can come from that. And there can be very positive and lovely experiences that can come from that. But I think as somebody who is tuned into the negative of what I'm doing, like, I'm both positive and negative, but I think the flight, fright, freeze response is very strong in me, and so I tend to be focused a lot of times, or at least instinctually I'm tuned into a lot of times to danger and what is like the negative of a situation, what is the dangerous side of a situation. I can't just focus on the positive, because the negative will make itself known to me in some sense because I'm tuned into it. And so putting myself out there or doing something like in public or whatever can be a lovely experience, and lovely things can come from it. But there's also a negative side to it that I can't not see. And so I think a lot of times people can sabotage their experiences to kind of like hold back a little bit what they're doing, because they don't want it to blow up, or they don't want to do it in a way where, the whole world is going to be, well, not the whole world, but, that a big group of people is going to be looking at it and scrutinizing it. It's scary. And I think with my experiences with certain online platforms, I've pretty much gotten burnt out on several online platforms that I've been in. Even in real life, at school, I was burnt out. At school, I wouldn't necessarily call it burnt out, but I was afraid of being seen. I was afraid of getting involved with people because of the conflicts that can happen, because of the entanglements that can happen when you get involved with certain friends or certain relationships. Like, I was scared of that. And I think it is something that kind of has carried on to my adult life, because I'm so wary of sort of relationships or success in some sense. As much as I would like for things that I'm doing to be a little bit more successful, I think it will be difficult. I mean, it is for me and many people, it is difficult to be in a situation where you now have to take on this other world almost through your success. So it's like that thing. I always find it interesting when people who become successful, or let's say their YouTube channel blows up a little bit more, they often delete their very old videos. I've noticed that. At least some channels have done this. And I've deleted some of my videos, made them private, but it's not because of this reason. But, there are channels where, the channel blows up, the person becomes more known, more successful, more professional. And then you see that their old videos, they've kind of removed their old videos because they weren't as professional, or they don't maybe didn't fit in with what they're doing now. So I find that super interesting, because it's like, that was who you were at that time, and those were the videos that you were making at that time. And so, who's to say that that's not good enough, if that makes sense? So maybe, like, it shows the progress. Why should you only leave your most professional videos up, and people can't see your older videos that might still bring something to people, even if they're not as polished? I know I'm going off track here, as I often do, but I think it's interesting to think about. And like I say, I've done that as well. I've deleted certain videos or made them private. And a lot of them I actually made public again later on, but there's still a few that I have to look at that I might want to make public again. But I think I did it for a different reason, but just I find it interesting. There was one channel in particular who I really enjoyed one, and I got something out of. I find it a super interesting video, a very old video on the channel, and now the channel has really blown up and is helping a lot of people. And that first video, or second or third or whatever video that I watched that I loved, has been now removed, and I would love to watch it again. But it's like, it's like the person who created the channel, I guess they didn't feel like that video kind of fit into their current successful YouTube channel story. So it's almost like people maybe are embarrassed in some sense with their old content sometimes. But it's like, it's human, it's natural to not be super professional right away. It takes time. But yeah, I just find that interesting that people do that, and that I would maybe do that as well if I had something that blew up or something. I might go back and look at my old things and be embarrassed and want to delete some of my old stuff. But I just find that interesting, because it's like, when you're putting yourself out there, in some sense, like I have this kind of strange feeling and strange relationship when it comes to making a brand of myself. Like I can't imagine myself as a brand. Like I'm so tuned into the different human things that I'm experiencing that I can't just kind of condense it down to, okay, this is me and this is the only thing that my channel is about, or something like that. I find it difficult to only make videos, especially on this channel, like to make videos only about one thing, because while this channel has mostly been about one thing, there's also other things that I want to talk about, because there's more experience that I'm having, if that makes sense. So I don't only think about one thing, and it's difficult for me to brand myself based on only one thing. It's like I'm just a human being who's having a human experience, and I want to talk about different things while, focusing a little bit more on one specific area, but I still want to talk about other things, because I feel like, this is a pretty small channel, and so I still want to talk about other things as well. So it's like, one topic doesn't cover the entirety of my interests, or the entirety of my life experience, or human experience, or my personality, if that makes any sense. And so I feel like when people put themselves out there, so to speak, when they become popular in something, they're often known for like a specific thing or two things or something. It's like you do become a brand in some sense, and people start responding to you in a certain way based on the content that you're creating, let's say. So if you notice, certain types of channels have certain types of comments. Certain types of channels have certain types of audiences. But it's like, they're still human beings with other interests, with other experiences. And so it becomes like this, almost like this, I don't want to say narrow, but like maybe a narrow sort of like category in a way. I just find it interesting, and I'm not saying it's right or it's wrong or it's bad or it's good, but I just want to discuss it, and what my thoughts about it are. That if somebody makes certain kinds of content, has a certain kind of tone in their videos, then people often tend to respond to it in a certain way, and maybe that comes down to just the fact that we attract the kind of energy that we put out. So if somebody is very gregarious in their videos, for example, the people in their comments might be more upbeat and positive as well. Or if it's a very serious channel about, something very, I don't know, serious, like, I don't know, paranormal activity, or I don't know, like something, conspiracy theories or something, the comments are going to be very different. And I don't really know why I'm talking about this now all of a sudden, but it's just kind of where my train of thought kind of brought me. But yeah, I mean, I'm going to finish up soon, but overall I would say putting myself out there is scary, and it's something that it's very difficult for me to kind of condense my experience of life down to like one category or one area, one type of content, because I feel like I don't have anything specific that I'm really holding on to when it comes to like the way that I am or my interests or something. I have different interests, they're not necessarily joined together, like they're pretty separate from each other. I'm into psychology, I'm into music, I'm into movies, I'm into, going for walks in nature, listen to random podcasts, and I like photography, and I like, TV shows that are, comedies sometimes, and then I like very serious movies. So it's like it's a kind of a contrast. So I think it's sometimes difficult to put yourself out there when you don't really know like which path to go down. Like, do I focus on this? Do I focus on that? And then people seeing that, like people seeing what you're doing, that adds an extra layer of discomfort to certain people, especially if you're not interested in being super well known or famous or something. Like, it can be so uncomfortable. And I have seen, people who are famous having, negative experiences due to their fame. And I'm very interested in that. I find it interesting that, fame can, it can invite all kinds of problems and trouble and experiences into your life that wouldn't have happened if you weren't famous. But then you would also not have experienced the positive sides of it, and maybe you wouldn't have been able to do the thing that got you famous in the first place. So I just find it interesting. Yeah, this was a ramble, but hopefully it was somewhat interesting. If you want more thoughts from me, do subscribe and leave a thumbs up if you like this, and leave a comment if you have any thoughts about this. Thank you for listening.